Alright, hey guys, we're on to the goat figure of the Nativity series. This is how he looks when he's done. He's awfully cute and small and actually quite simple to make. So I'm excited to show you this one. So he only has one pattern page, and you can make sure that you're printing to the correct scale by making sure that this bar along the bottom measures 4 inches after you print. If you print at full scale or 100%, that should be the perfect size for this. Then you've got all your pre-shrunk felt. These are all the colors I specify in the color map online, and I will link you below to that. Even if you buy the kit, you do need to pre-shrink your felt. Okay, then I've got the different colors of embroidery floss that I'm going to be using today. And one thing to note is I do have this one little bit of, it's a pearl floss number 5 in the color 840. And that, if you can't find that, just use the 6-strand embroidery floss number 840. It's just to create this bit of texture on his horns that kind of looks cool with having a little bit of a different texture to it. And then in addition to that, you just need your normal stuff, the needles, a bit of stuffing for the body, white glue, your glue gun, wire cutters, and your normal basic sewing supplies. So I'm going to start with the sulky. I'm going to cut all the shapes out, not along the final line, but leave a little bit of a border. I'm going to stick them to their corresponding felt colors. Alright, so I've matched up all of my sulky pieces with the corresponding felt colors. Again, we got anything really tiny like this beard. I just leave it on the bigger piece, and when we go to work with it, that's when we'll cut it out along the final outlines. Some of this bigger stuff, I'll cut it out along the outline when I'm not on camera. So those will all be done. And what I've got left here are the pieces that need a bit of embroidery on them. So I'm going to start with 2 strands of my brown floss, and I'm going to come in and do a back stitch on the ears up this middle line that I've got in there. Okay, so you're just going to come in at one end and make a small stitch going upwards, and then go further on, and then you're going to come back into that first opening, and you're going to continue this all the way up. Alright, so you can see that's how that came out, and off camera I'm going to do this other side here as well, and then I'll cut them out around the final line. The next one, the top. So you're going to be doing, it looks complicated here, but it's really just these long back stitches that you're going to be doing along these lines to create this look. So you're just going to start at one end. Actually, I'm going to start up here. And you're just going to do these really long stitches. And it's a back stitch in essence, but with a kind of a zigzag to it. So you're going to come in and out and just follow along. Okay, and there's a really good diagram of this in your instructions. Okay, so there's my first row done. So I'm going to keep doing that to all these rows, and then after it's cut it out around that outer line. Okay, next I'll show you the mouth. So this again has 2 strands of embroidery floss, and you're going to be doing these little sections. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm just going to show you how I do it. It's probably going to take about 3 stitches on each side. Okay, and now when you come through here, you'll see you're quite close to that edge. So you're going to come into that stitch, and then if rather than tying off, you want to kind of go through a little bit of this back felt, not all the way to the front, just to bring you up away from that edge. And now you're going to come back down here. All right, and then you're going to continue on just to make sure that afterwards you go to cut this out, that you're not going to catch and accidentally cut your DMC floss. So it's just a way to kind of get that up and out of that area. Okay, and that's that piece completely done. All right, next we're going to move into the face area. So you're going to start with 2 strands of the brown, and you're going to backstitch along this line. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you start down here or up there. So I'm just going to start up here and do a nice backstitch along there. Okay, when you get done that line, you're just going to tie that off on the back. All right, and next we're going to move to 3 strands of the brown embroidery floss. And with these, you're going to make 2 French knots. One's going to be at the nostril and one up by the eye. I'm going to start right up at the eye and come in on one side of that circle and do my double twist and come out at the other end of that circle. Pull it tight. Not so tight that you can't pull your needle through, and pull slowly. And that's the eye. And then I want to end up down in this area, so I'm just noticing where I need to go. So I'm just going to scooch along here, grab up a little bit of that felt along the way. And then I'm going to do my second French knot down here. So I'm going to come in at one side of that nose, double twist, and then out the other side, and pull tight. And there you go. All right, and then I'm going to tie that off. All right, and then I'm going to take 2 strands of black floss, and the last thing on this is to stitch that little bit of an eyebrow that he has. So I'm going to start over here and just follow that black line with little small stitches. And then we're going to tie that off. You're going to do this exact same to this side of the body. So as I was saying, don't worry about this dotted line because that is just for placement of the nose afterwards. However, you do need to just throw a quick stitch in on those dotted lines that are on the goat body on both the front and the back. Those are just to help you with placement of the legs on the body afterwards. They're kind of like a guide so that you have a better idea where exactly to place those legs. So if you forget to put them in, which you'll see that I did forget to do that on my in this tutorial, because you won't see them on pieces going forward. It took a little bit more thinking of where and how to place those legs. But if you have those there, after you wash off the sulky, you'll still have this indicator directly on your felt to see where to place those legs. Okay, and then the last piece is the horns. So you've got this interesting pearl floss. Like I said, you can also just use 4 strands of regular DMC on this. I don't want you to end up too thick on it. And you're just going to follow along this horn pattern. So this bottom, I'm just going to do 2 stitches. Separate that so that there's one on either side. And then you're just going to follow this up a little bit, creating this bit of texture. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to scooch my needle through these stitches to get back down to the base. Just over like that. Okay, and then I'm going to come through and do the same thing on this side. And these stitches do come very close to the edge, so if you're afraid that you're going to cut through your stitch, just cut a little bit outside of that guideline. Or alternatively, if you're afraid, you can just not make that stitch quite as long as I've got in the pattern. Alright, I got one more here to do. Okay, and that's that piece. Now to tie this one off so I don't end up with some big lump over here, because this does not have a backing piece to it, I'm just gonna go bring this down like that. And I'm gonna loop around and tie off nicely here, which for me means I make a loop and I go in twice, and then I pull it slowly and it makes a nice knot for me, okay? And then I'm going to cut that off fairly close. And that one's ready to already cut out. So I'm going to finish up these pieces. I'm going to cut them out along their outer edge. And then when I come back, we're going to soak them in the water. Okay guys, I've got all of my goat pieces ready to go. And I've got my water bath of lukewarm water here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these in to dissolve off that sulky. These little ones, they're so tiny, so you definitely want to do this in a water bath and not just in a sink, because I would be afraid of these falling down the drain. Okay guys, it's been about 5 minutes, so these pieces are ready just to rub that last little bit of sulky off of them. And then you're going to just press each piece, get rid of that excess water. These little pieces, they are at high risk for deforming, so you're going to want to just rub maybe your top finger along that. You don't want to be pulling on it at all. Okay, so got all these pieces done. They're going to get put aside to dry for a few hours or overnight, depending on how long it takes, and then we'll go further with the goat. All right, all my pieces are dry, and I'm just pulling the sulky off of some of the legs because that is where we're going to start with this. And now in looking at your legs, you've got your front, one half of your front and your rear legs. You are going to want to take the pipe cleaner that's for this step, and you're going to want to cut all the hair off of it first. These pieces are on the smaller side, and this will just make it easier to sew them together afterwards. So I'm just going to cut to 1 inch and then 2 3/4. Okay, and then all you're going to do is, like in previous figures, we're going to take it and I'm going to start at the bottom, follow that curve just a little bit there, and that'll get glued into place, and the excess on the top will get trimmed down. I'm going to go ahead and glue these into place. Okay, I've got all those legs with the pipe cleaners on, so now I'm just going to take the tops off of these other ones. I could have done it before, but I just waited, and those will go on their matching ones. Alright, so now I'm going to take my matching embroidery floss, and each of these legs I'm going to whip stitch around and stuff as I go. So I'm going to start at this top corner of the legs when I go to do them. All of them in the same spot. And hide that tail. Alright, and as I come up to this part of the foot, I'm going to start to stuff that toe. You're not going to get a lot in there, but you're just trying to create that nice bit of roundness that I have here. Again, it does not take a lot. I'm going to take my tweezers again and just get that in there. And push that fluff out of the way and keep whip stitching. Right, and if you can put a little bit more in the top, you can. We can see if we can or not. And just push that in the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch across the top of the leg. Just like that. Right, and then I'm going to do a loop, go through my loop. Get a knot and one more stitch to secure. All right, and there's one little leg done. So I'm going to do that procedure to the other legs, and then we'll go further with that part. Okay, the next step is the tail. So I'm going to pull the sulky off of those two pieces. And all you're going to do with these is line them up and whip stitch all the way around. Alright, so this is the tail done, so that's just going to get put aside. And I'm going to switch back over to my lighter floss. And I'm going to take my two goat body halves. Alright, so I'm going to start to stitch up in this back rear area. And I'm whip stitching around. And I'm going to continue on till I round up through in here, and then we'll start to stuff the head. Okay, so you can see I've come along here with a whip stitch, and I ended there, and I'm just going to come in now with my stuffing. And I think I'm actually going to use a purple thing for this area. It's more just about getting it curved into that mouth area. Another thing you could do is if you have your tweezers, just hold them together like that, because you don't really need to grab up the stuffing in this case, just to push it into that area. And I'm going to continue my whip stitch and continue to stuff as I go. Right, so you can see I finished stuffing him. He's fairly firmly stuffed, I would say, and I've made a little bit of a knot. I'm just going to cut that off, and now it's time to go back to the legs. Alright, I'm back. I finished stuffing all of the legs, and right now I'm just pulling the sulky off of the little hoof bits. So you'll notice that the hooves have a curved upper and the bottom is straight. So what you're going to do is make sure that you've got these oriented the correct way. So the legs come down and then they form this little square at the bottom, and that's where these will wrap around, is that bottom part, okay? So all of these hooves will get glued on to the bottom part of all of the legs. And at the back here, if you would like to follow up with the stitch, you absolutely can do that to finish that off. Alright, oh, and you can see in the pattern, you can see I've identified what's considered the front of the leg and the back. So for example, that's front to back, that's front to back that way. And then these ones also front to back, front to back. So the curves are on the front part. And that's going to come in handy now for this next part. Okay, so once you get these hooves installed, you're going to want to make sure that you've got your front legs, which are the long ones, and then your little short legs are the back ones. I messed up. I forgot to throw these stitches in when I was actually doing all my embroidery, so I put these in afterwards. I tried to do it on this side as well, but I did not line them up properly, so I'm going to just use these as my guides. So we're going to start with the front legs. So that curve goes forward like that. I'm going to throw a bit of glue underneath that area. Okay, so he'll be standing like that. And then the back leg. And you're going to match that top with that line. Okay, and if you had read the pattern, then you wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So I am just going to have to eyeball this, and I'm going to cut this down a little. Don't worry too much, you won't see the tops of these legs after. Because they all get covered up. So I'm just going to eyeball it and line that up there. It's pretty good. And then again, that bump out goes towards the front. That's not too bad. Add a little bit of glue there. Okay, well, I got him standing, so I'm quite happy with that after I messed that up. So that's good. So that's the basis of the structure. So now you're going to start to put on these layers of wool. So you're going to start with this bottom piece and pull it off softly because you don't want to wreck any of these nice little cutouts that you did along the bottom. And you want to find the center. All right, so your center is going to go at the back and it's going to meet up at this front. Yeah, you're pretty much just lining up the top of this fur piece with the top of your stitches where they end along this bottom back area. So that's pretty good. Again, there's diagrams and stuff you can follow in the instructions that show you this pretty clearly. And I'm going to glue that around. All right, and it's going to meet right in that center. I want them to come together. Just like that. Okay, so that's your bottom layer. All right, and then the next layer is called the middle layer. So we'll pull that off gently. Okay, and this one you're going to find that center back. And that center back just lines up with the top edge of what you just had put on, okay? So I'm going to add some glue along that upper edge. So you see I've got it flush as well as I can with that bottom piece. All right, and I'm just gonna come in here with a little bit of glue to tack that down. So for the top layer, this smaller end, that's your back end. And so you're going to want to find the center and it'll go around like so. You're trying to line up that center with the center back. And this again will get pulled tightly around the front. So once I'm going to start it along here. So it does come up the neck a bit so that you're aware of that. I'm going to actually put my glue down this center and I am gluing right along that seam of the top of the body. Okay. Make sure that I'm even. And then you should be able to come down, see, and then they meet. So I'm going to come along these sides with some glue. Pull this in. And that'll meet just underneath. And now I'm going to glue down at the sides just a bit. Okay, and then at this point you're going to take a bit of your brown floss and we're going to just whip stitch this top layer closed. So I'm going to come in there and match them as best as I can. Do a bit of a whip stitch. Okay, and on this one you're going to want to just have your last stitch go to the back like that. And you know what, I may actually pull my loop on this body, so that will also help pull that down a bit. And then I'm going to, there, and then I'll cut it off from underneath. All right, he's coming along super fast. All right, the next step is the goat mouth. So you want it oriented so that this these downward lips are at the bottom. Okay, so this mouth, you're gonna center it at the front of the nose. So I'm actually gonna throw a little drop of glue in there. Okay, and then it's going to come underneath those nostrils. So again, another little drop of glue, just to tack it in place. Then on this side, and again, if you've got like a little knot that's looking a little pesky, just move it to the inside. Alright, and then the last thing you're going to do is you want to connect those two sides of the mouth. So I'm going to come in with my brown again. And I'm going to try to I want to come in so that I'm hiding my knot. So I'm going to come in here and hope that it hides underneath. Not too bad. I'm just going to do one stitch across. Again, if you struggle because there is glue back there, you can always use your pliers to pull you through. Okay, and then I'm gonna take my floss to the back here where I can hide my knot. Okay, that area should be hidden by the ear afterwards. Now we're going to come in and do some very fine whip stitching all around that mouth area. I'm going to show you on this one. So we're just going to throw in some whip stitching around here. It'll just finish this off a lot nicer than how it's looking, which is why I take the time to do that. So I'm just going to again come in here. I can hide that knot. Okay, and that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So again, I'm just going to come in under here and drive my stitch to the back here. Alright, just a few more little details to go. So the next step is to put the beard on, which I have not even cut out yet because it is so tiny. So I'm going to do this quickly. Okay, and then we're going to cut that little line carefully. But be even more gentle when you're pulling the sulky off. I think I've always had to do at least more than one because I've ripped them. So that was pretty good. So this will go so that the part that's angled outwards like that, that'll go towards the front. And this just gets put in right underneath and in behind his mouth. So I am just going to throw a little bit of glue there. And this just gets put right up in that spot. Again, if you want to, you could totally stitch that in place. It's just so tiny. The horns. So the horn is this piece. And you're just going to center that in between. And they'll kind of stick out like that. So start by centering yourself on the top. So I'm going to throw a bit of glue in here to help hold me in position. And then stick that on there so that I know I'm centered. Right, and then from there, you're just literally going to fold them down just a little bit and catch a little bit more with some glue on either side here. Okay, just like that. And then his ears. Oh, and he's also got his tail still. So his ears, Make sure you've got them right side facing out. So they'll get curved away like that. If you've got any straggler bits, cut them off now. This one had a couple. Alright, so you want this to go in behind that eye. Kind of behind that eyelid. And be kind of coming down a little bit. So I know I want to put the top part there. So I'm just gonna tack it in place there. Actually, that's pretty good how that is. So I'm gonna go in and add a little bit more glue because I know I'm happy with that. All right, and then you're gonna try to find that same spot on the other side. So you can kind of judge it. Look at where they're coming at the back. That's pretty good. So I'm going to throw another drop of glue in here. So look at the front, look at the back. Adjust it. Okay, that's pretty good. And I'll do a second little spot there so I know it's secured. All right, and then the tail just gets popped in here. Again, you can sew it in place. I'm just going to glue it because I've got my glue gun right here. So I'm just going to add a little drop there and pop that little piece on. And just like that, you're done. There's the little goat, and that is the last pattern and figure for the nativity scene. So I hope you had fun constructing this with me. Thanks for joining.